Thank you for joining XROM, India's first AR/VR focused podcast. And today, we're delighted to have with us Georgii Vysotskii, who's the ex-co-founder at NetMoney, a QR code-based tip payment business model launched in Russia, which is popular in countries such as Europe, US, and MENA region. It was acquired by Alpha Bank, the largest private bank in Russia, and he's currently the co-founder and CEO of Gracia AI, a deep tech startup offering volumetric videos for virtual, augmented, and mixed reality. And co-host is Sanan Goel. So, Georgii, will be great if you can start with your ex-company, NetMoney. So, what's the journey been like? Because you've built a successful tip payment-based business and you already sold it. What nudged you to transition into this very new field of 3D Gaussian splats and XR that still hasn't kind of, figured out the monetization model?
Yes, sure. So basically, me and my partner, we are friends since high school, and we were kind of sharing the flat after the uni. And we launched NetMoney while we were having different careers, right? So I was at McKinsey at the moment. McKinsey & Company, he was working at Prisma AI, and they were the first company, Prisma, who launched mobile nets running real time on low-end GPU devices, so on mobile GPUs. And they skyrocketed. They had 100 million downloads on App Store. So it was extremely popular app before PyTorch existed, etc. And so my partner's background, he's always a CTO, I'm CEO, and he has this deep tech background and unique capability to make AI models run extremely efficiently on low-end GPU devices. And I'm always responsible for operations, business development, team management, etc. And so our first project originally was more a product-oriented, right? So less technology-oriented. We were solving a particular issue of paying tips directly to waiter when you don't have cash to leave tip. But later, and we launched in 2018. It was right before the COVID-19. We were struggling during the COVID, but later started to grow exponentially. And we were acquired 21. When we left, the company had over 160 employees. It was already profitable, 10 million IRR, annualized revenue, recurring revenue. So, and it keeps growing after we left. And so I'm really proud about it. Later, we moved to Kazakhstan. My partner has stayed in Kazakhstan. I moved to London, and we were considering what to do next. And we were considering, to be honest, different ideas. Product-oriented, technology-oriented, etc. But once I've seen a demo in VR headset of this unique technology. At the moment, it was Nerve. Later, Gaussian Splatting emerged. Mm-hmm. So once I saw it, I felt like, we are building something completely new. It doesn't solve a particular issue at the moment, right? But it enables completely new type of experience, type of the content, right? Mm-hmm. So I decided that we really need to bet on it and go building deep tech company. Okay. But our strategy still has kind of a good combination of operations, business development along with technology. So we combine together our kind of unique capabilities of me and my partner and CTO.
Georgii, will you be able to explain to us what 3D and 4D Gaussian splat is, as well as volumetric video?
Yes, sure. So basically 3D Gaussian splatting is another new way of representation of 3D scene, of a volumetric scene, right? We used to have meshes when the whole object is just divided to polygons, like small triangles, and the color is baked into this triangle. It's kind of a previous version of technology to do 3D reconstruction. So Gaussian splatting, in contrast, it doesn't kind of bake the light, but rather remembers the light behavior inside of the scene. Basically, the same 3D reconstruction, but with the splats, so it's particles, that has a function of the color and transparency depending on the angle you look on this particular splat. Mm-hmm. It enables you to work with semi-transparent surfaces, reflective surfaces, and all challenging individual hairs, so challenging textures for polygons that were really limiting the volumetric video based on based on meshes. So Gaussian splatting just enables you to kind of reconstruct the whole lighting behavior inside of the scene, and we use from 300,000 to a few million of splats, depending on the size of the scene and its kind of intensity and the kind of density of splats, right? So it enables you to do much higher fidelity, much more photorealistic reconstruction of 3D objects, right? And the content kind of production, the content capturing is very, very similar. You still need to capture the object from multiple angles, but instead of kind of processing into mesh, you train AI models like into Gaussian splats so that you can kind of in it weights, AI model remembers the live behavior, right? So how and trains like position the splats inside of the scene in a way during each iteration of training, it repositions the splats to kind of accurately reconstruct the object. And for these 4D Gaussian splats, obviously, it's about, so basically what we do is not a correct way to say it's that 4D Gaussian splats, because 4D would be time, right? But here it's like dynamic 3D Gaussian splatting scenes, where we still have 3D Gaussian splats, but we now can move the splats inside of the scene, right? So we store the trajectory of splats, and it enables you to reconstruct dynamic movements. And the biggest difference between like volumetric video and like static 3D Gaussian splats is that for completely static objects, you can easily capture them using only one device, for example, like a phone camera, right? So because you can record the video capturing the object from all the angles, and later divide it into frames and train Gaussian splats based on these frames, like based on these images. But with volumetric video, the challenge is to synchronize cameras perfectly, like multiple cameras to capture the event from all the angles simultaneously, completely simultaneously, because for dynamic movements, Gaussian splats like are very sensitive, like meshes as well, but Gaussian splatting is very sensitive to camera synchronization.
So would you say 4D Gaussian splat, the nomenclature you've given, is essentially the video version of a static volumetric capture done using Gaussian splatting? Okay, that makes sense.
I would say that the correct wording is kind of dynamic 3D Gaussian splatting scenes rather than 4D. Rather than 3D Gaussian splats.
I mean,
for simplicity,
it does make sense. It does make sense. If we consider time as the first dimension, then if you're playing a video, it's sort of, playing with the time as well. That's very interesting.
I think, Georgii, the future of content creation is going to be very, very awesome. We moving from a flat 2D interface to these 3D worlds, and enabling these 3D worlds are these 3D Gaussian splats, 4D Gaussian splats, and volumetric video. Volumetric capture is really time consuming, and you need several cameras, and the data gets very, very heavy. With 3D Gaussian splats, with the help of AI, you can have like a single camera, and walk around an asset, and there you have you get your 3D Gaussian splats. And there are an application such as Luma Labs, who've done like a fantastic job. They have these applications. You run it on your phone, iPhone, whatever assets that you have. You can actually walk around the assets, like just take these pictures and that entire thing. Then the application, Luma application, turns it into a 3D world itself. And I was just kind of LinkedIn. I just saw this post. I think yesterday. World Labs, they have launched this thing where you can take a single image and you can turn it in a full 3D scene. So I think the world is becoming more and more exciting, and I think we're going to break away from our 2D world, which has restricted us for the longest time, and go into the 3D world. Exactly like how we experience the world. We live in a 3D world, but our interfaces are stuck to the 3D thing. So Gracia AI. Can you maybe elaborate on what you are building at Gracia AI, and how you're gonna make this 3D world more accessible to everyone through what you're building?
Yes, sure. So basically at Gracia, we are mostly focused on XR experiences and mostly focused on volumetric videos. So we have Gracia platform launched like last December. So mostly for community reasons. So enthusiasts can come upload their PLY files that, for example, they exported from Luma, right, to check them in VR headset. And we were the only one at the moment, right, who were enabling these XR implementation of Gaussian splats, so real-time rendering on user device. It was for PCVR first. Later we launched it for Quest 3, standalone Quest 3. Apple Vision Pro is coming soon. But our original target was always videos, because we think that like specifically videos, they unlock the whole potential of they cover more use cases, right? So most of the content we consume is like dynamic, right? So it's videos, and these 3D scenes, they're like easy to produce, right? Easy to capture, but they are cool and they're completely new, right? But the whole user engagement comes from videos, right? So we currently focusing on two kind of major areas that we cover is processing. So we have the unique built from scratch processing pipeline from 2D synchronized footage from the cameras. From these multiple cameras, you capture the event, right? We process it to a volumetric video. We have our proprietary format specifically for storing volumetric videos, and it enables us to do the compression, to do all the optimizations that enable us to kind of further push the quality further, and also lossless compression, so the storage of the capacity of the file is more or less user friendly. The second thing is on-device rendering. So we have recently launched, I think 2 weeks ago, our volumetric video stack demos on standalone Quest 3, so you can go to Metastore, download the app, and try them yourself in a standalone mode. So when we are now working on an SDK, so on integrations with all other platforms like Unity, Unreal, to enable developers basically to integrate volumetric videos into their existing applications and enable this new type of user experience to their consumers, right? So these are basically two products that we have, processing and rendering integrations. We have partnered with a few volumetric capturing studios, or 4D scanning studios, sometimes they are called, in Los Angeles, in London, in Europe. We are now in talks with one studio in Japan. So we do not go into hardware, so we expect that the content is going to be captured by professional content creators, first of all in a specific studios or on portable rigs. We also kind of partnered with a startup who are helping us to build a portable rig of very, very affordable price, like 10-15K for the whole setup, that can easily be transported to the place where you plan to shoot the content, right? Easily set up, easily operated, so you can easily obtain this synchronized footage that later will be processed via our pipeline to Gaussian spots, like dynamic Gaussian splatting-based scenes, like volumetric videos, and you can integrate it into your applications. So we think that it's the best way to streamline and make much cheaper the content production, and we provide integration to make it accessible to users in various applications, right? So basically, we are considering ourselves as a deep tech company, technological partner that provides AI training pipeline as well as integrations, kind of viewers that can be used to do the whole chain of content production, capturing, processing, distribution. And we are looking for partners in all segments who see the use case for these volumetric videos to be used to their existing clients. So we do not go to do marketing and sales ourselves. We do not build our B2C own applications. We think it's rather boiling the ocean from our side. So we are trying to focus on being B2B2C partner. So we provide technology to someone who do the content productions and distribution.
Right. Now that you mentioned, about use cases and that, there are multiple partners, but we would love to sort of hear from you, what are the kind of use cases that you've come across? Because see, I see the world where we, see this technology essentially as the 3D video format, right? Wherein, there's certain degree of freedom that the user would essentially have while viewing maybe sort of short content or even movies per se, right? I don't think we are at the stage where we could start to edit or, combine or, have multiple footages together into a single long format content, have storylines implemented. Do you see that future? Are we there, or is that going to take time? Could you talk about that and maybe some other use cases that have come out of this as well?
Yeah. Let me start with the use cases first. So for us, we consider 4 major areas of application of this technology. First of all, it's observational learning, as we call it. So everything related to looking someone doing some complex technique, seeing it from all the angles, and repeating after him in mixed reality, right? These use cases are dancing, martial arts, like how to do the punch exactly, how to cook properly, like knife skills, you can imagine, or how to do fitness or yoga. So everything you can explain as how-to videos on YouTube, when it's all about learning a particular skill. But we think that in VR, in mixed reality specifically, when you have an experience of having a master or a coach in front of you,
that does make sense.
Feeling the shape, seeing all the details from all the angles, it really helps.
All the angles, yeah.
The second one is B2B medical training. So basically is the same, but specifically for medical trainings and for onboarding of employees. It's just the B2B segment. We captured a few demos for medical trainings, and like it grow like I hope that we will confirm project very soon. The third application is entertainment related, right? So fashion shows, music videos, concert clips. So everything you now watch in 2D, but you want to jump into it and be on the stage. Yes. So usually it kind of the best use cases would be celebrities or big brands involved. So something that drives engagement in the first place, and you want to be closer to it. So fashion shows and music videos would be the best kind of examples. And the fourth one, which I see huge potential as well, is VFX and creative agencies like advertising agencies. So when you use volumetric video as a source to extract 2D video out of it that you couldn't capture in like with regular camera. And here we come to the composing it, etc. So you can already.
I think that would be useful for any film production house and not just advertising agencies.
I'd rather say that VFX needs and advertising it would be the better use case, because in movies you try to push the quality much higher.
Absolutely.
And they use different cameras. Hollywood, for example, they use very, very expensive cameras. They capture in RAW. If we talk about like advertising or VFX or like music creative, like music video that you still want to export in 2D and publish on YouTube, you are not that related on the raw footage, right? So the quality, I mean, of the picture that Hollywood movie feels. Yeah. So you capture volumetrically, let's say an artist like a rapper. Yeah. And you later compose him, like we already can export your video into Unity, Unreal, Blender, After Effects, whatever you use. You compose it with the external environment, either a static or dynamic one, and you can render 2D fly-throughs out of it, just programming the virtual camera trajectory. You compose the video, create like a fly-through,
and it would result in very unique sort of angles and propositions, and sort of you can say an easy way to advance better VFX and have a better control of the camera as the director at a later point of time as well, right? If you not able to get that one perfect angle, you could experiment later with the various options.
It is one of the application, obviously, when you don't know exactly where the camera should be placed in the first place. So you capture it in a volumetric way and later decide. But another use case would be when it's really impossible, for example, to create a video where the person starts to do the punch. You make a pose, you put the virtual camera on another fighter, for example, who gets the punch, and you show the first person how he gets the punch like this, right? That's kind of use cases you couldn't capture in a real world, right? So, but now you can make them extremely photorealistic, capturing them in a studio, just exporting it to your toolkits that you use for post-production, right? Existing ones. There is no need to build a new one. So you just export it and compose it with the environment there, create all the sound mix and etc., and just re-render impossible before 2D video, ready to go. So it's already
interesting. So this push of transitioning from 2D to 3D has been going on for like a long time. I mean, earlier we had this 2D to 3D construction with cameras. We used to call it photogrammetry. Then we had virtual reality. I've directed, produced India's first stereoscopic virtual reality horror short film called Crackle. We actually developed our own 16 camera rig back in 2016 when Google and Facebook were developing their virtual reality rig. And we were always hoping that, okay, I mean, the world is going to adopt it. But that, I mean, it's taken a long time, I mean, from, 2016, from photogrammetry to virtual reality, from monoscopic virtual reality to stereoscopic virtual reality to volumetric. Volumetric, people thought that it's going to be the future, but we know that, it's a very complex technology with a lot of cameras, and then, syncing them, and then, converting them into a single volumetric video file. This obviously, these 3D Gaussian splats, 4D Gaussian splats is making the workflow very simple. what's the timelines in your head you're thinking that this is going to get commercialized is my first question. And second question is, you mentioned that, you are creating these portable rigs for, content creators. So for supposing if I am a solo content creator, it's not like I'm in a professional content creator. How do I kind of get onto this creating content, 3D Gaussian splats and uploading it onto Gracia and making money out of it?
Yeah. So basically, let me start from address the first part of it. So basically, we think that photogrammetry or 360 videos have quite the similar reasoning why they didn't become the kind of didn't find the product market fit, I would say, right? For photogrammetry, it was limited to both with the quality and the type of the content that you can capture. Yeah. So you barely can capture a fashion runway show based on meshes, right? You can, but it will not feel like a runway show, right? So because you're limited with the type of the clothes you can capture it, etc. And with 360 videos on YouTube, for example, they didn't find its way because it's the value proposition feel like you're somewhere else, right? But you doesn't actually feel it because you don't actually feel it because it's still 2D video and you don't have this viewpoint freedom, right? So you can only rotate your head, right? So these are good steps, but it doesn't really solve the issue of delivering truly 3D content at the same time photorealistic, as you mentioned before, how we actually feel the world. So, and VR headsets were not there yet. Gen AI was not there yet. So now we have quite a good timing, at least. VR guys, they always hope that it's time for VR, since the very beginning, right? So, and
Absolutely.
For 10 years, the joke VR is dead is every month or so. Yes. So, but we now see quite some good signals that VR headsets become more and more cheap. The quality is already close to perfect, right? The quality of the picture, the resolution, the GPU capacity of the headset is there. So you can actually render really high, I would say, very GPU intensive AI models, right? On this. The internet connection is already quite high and substantial. So you can stream the content, right? So you can download it easily or even stream the volumetric video. Gen AI will enable in the next 1, 2, 3 years. We don't know how much time it will take to significantly reduce the number of cameras. We already use diffusion models to hallucinate virtual cameras to fill the gaps. For example, you always struggle to capture the chin because you don't have cameras straight from looking from the bottom up. So you usually have artifacts in there in your neck. So we already hallucinated to fill the gap and to remove artifacts on your neck. So with Gen AI being more and more kind of applied, you can significantly reduce the number of cameras. It means significantly reduce the cost of content production. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, and Gaussian Splats itself as a technology, it really enables photorealistic 3D content that feels truly as deliver this sense of presence in VR specifically, because it you render two different pictures for both of the eyes, right? That's how the brain works. Yeah, you measure the distance, you feel the shape, and it's photorealistic. You can move around, completely real-time rendering. So we think that it is the point where you can imagine cost of production go much lower, VR headset user base to be much bigger.
Yeah.
Gen AI,
all of those things.
All of these things are kind of contributing.
Combination of all the technologies. No, that makes sense.
It's contributing. It's contributing to the growth of this immersive content overall. Yeah, and it feels that finally, it really solves this issue of being truly 3D delivering this.
And my second question was that if I'm a content creator and I want to transition from 2D to 3D,
sure.
How do I kind of?
Yeah, at the moment you have two options, right? So you can go for this kind of studio, this volumetric capturing studio, and capture content there. It's very fit for professional creators who are trying to get AAA quality, or you can buy this portable rig that I mentioned. So just reach out to us. We will connect you with our partner who has built it and ready to ship it. So you can purchase this quite affordable. It is for semi-professional creators, I would say. So it's still not user-generated content, right? So you build and install this easy to operate rig. You capture the content, and just send us the footage, we process, we send it back to you, you integrate it into your application. If it is something truly unique, we can publish it in Gracia and try to monetize it in Gracia. We have plans that we will provide creators the way to monetize their content by like selling these to users. For example, if you're a chef, cooking chef, right? We are more than happy to have you on our platform. If you are ready to invest in this portable, you can produce the content for us for our platform. We will definitely will enable a subscription model to your content or a pay-as-you-go business. More than welcome. But to be honest, I think that the stages would be the following. So we will need to integrate a few major content producers for VR, like Supernatural, Amaze VR, Shapes XR, right? So integrate those apps who already have like VFX studios, right? So who start using this technology to showcase it much faster to bigger audience, right? That, okay, now this is possible, right? It will definitely get them featuring from Meta, because I can expect that like the user engagement metrics are gonna to grow really nicely once you implement it. So it will enable you to kind of to do a huge shout out to these new tech capabilities. And after that, I can imagine more content creators, like smaller content creators, other professional creators or semi-professional creators come and start investing into this technology, because in the first place, you still need to make sure that it works, right? Sometimes nobody wants to be the first, right? But I imagine this to be like top-down approach, right? So bigger companies adopt this tech, invest into it as a pilot, trying it, prove the metrics, start scaling it, everyone recognizes it, and keep trying to keep up, right? So that's how I see the distribution of it.
Georgii, recently you raised 1.2 million funding. You spoke about monetization. Unfortunately, the AR, VR, XR industry, I mean, the monetization is pretty much an issue. When do you see startups such as yours making money? And what are the approaches you think? You spoke about subscription models. When actually you think it's going to be possible for startups in the space, whether, because this is like really deep tech, really a frontier new tech, because people really do not know about, people are so used to the same technology. We are glued to mobiles. In 2016, I was dreaming that, people would kind of transition from carrying technology to wearing technology, go to head wearable devices, That's taken a long time, Though I think what the generative AI, ChatGPT, large language models, I think they've done, they've catapulted us into the future. When do you think realistically there's going to be money into the ecosystem, and how do you see making money through 3D Gaussian Splatting?
Yeah. Actually, we started generating revenue. So Gracia itself, platform, B2C platform, doesn't have any monetization, but we have our revenue coming from licensing technology to like other startups or like launching pilot projects with like a few partners, right? And we also do not focus only on XR, right? So it's our major focus because we believe that it's a hero experience. Imagine trying Gaussian Splats in VR or like in mixed reality. But at the same time, we support 2D viewers, and you can see this application for VFX need. There is no XR device required. Yeah, so we started to generate first revenue. We are not break even, obviously. And absolutely, I fully agree with you that it's a huge issue for the whole industry, right? But at the same time, Meta creates this lifestyle accelerator program, right? For like Apple focus only on lifestyle content, right? So everything apart from gaming. So for the whole industry, it's kind of obvious that the content is shifting towards photorealistic one. Hyperscape is one of the example. Vargio with their like support of Gaussian Splats is also a good signal for us. So basically, there is a very good trend into the photorealistic content, everything beyond gaming, right? Meta supports and invests in startups via this like accelerator program, and the user base is obviously growing. So it's just a matter of time. Absolutely, like most of the money are made by games, right? But you see examples as FitXR, for example, right? It is already half the way, right? So it's still a game, but it's already for another purpose, not for entertainment, but already for fitness. Yeah, you have Supernatural, right? Ala moves,
that's
right?
A brilliant game.
It's already coming closer. Ala moves, they already created like 3D content, right? Based on photogrammetry, right? So it works nicely, to be honest, right? Now Gaussian splats, not Gaussian splats, but like it's already trying to be photorealistic as much as they can, right? With all the limitations of polygons. But I think it's starting to shift, right? And so I don't think that I have there is a one answer. I think the only answer is time, right? So we definitely need more support from Meta, from Apple, and from other devices producers to
definitely the hardware ecosystem is growing, right? I mean,
hardware ecosystem is growing.
Yeah. And from what used to be like $800, $800 devices are now, as less as $300. So, and that's increasing the user base at the same time, right? So I definitely feel as more and more hardware ecosystem companies, keep coming into it, adapting to, newer technologies like, he mentioned that, Wario started support for Gaussian splatting as well. I'm sure more and more, even performance will keep improving, cost will keep coming down. I think there will be a tipping point where all of that merges and hits that right sweet spot for everyone to then, slowly start transitioning.
Completely.
A lot. And of course, like he said, gaming has in a lot of the cases been the spearheading of most newer technologies, and which is particularly in the case of VR as well. But nonetheless, there are so many use cases, gamified content in education, in training, which definitely, and I loved, the use cases that he mentioned, especially when it came to instructional content, whether it's training of operation of complex equipment, medical, cooking, exercises. So it does make sense where those, particular use cases would really lie in the initial days. And, it gives much more clarity to where we are going.
Such a fantastic point of time. I think around 2016-17, we were tinkering around with photogrammetry. And just the idea of seeing something from multi-point of views was so awesome. But that was static.
Yeah.
But with these 4D Gaussian splats, where these virtual volumetric videos, or 4D Gaussian splats, where you are in the content, I think it's going to be a game changer. I think no matter how much we kind of explain the user that, oh, you're going to be in the content, it's difficult to kind of grasp the experience itself. I mean, you have to experience it, don that virtual reality headset and get into that world where you're walking into the 3D environment, and that's when you go like, oh, wow. I think, so that's like you said, I think we're in the right path, I mean, all the big companies, Meta, Apple, you mentioned about the lifestyle accelerator app. And I guess, I think they need to be more supportive of the ecosystem because they have these headsets, but the problem is the content. And I think that's the reason I think XR is not going mainstream, and we need to give them more content, live action content, games content, volumetric content. And I guess the more content that we have, there'll be more audience like then saying, okay, now I've got more things to do. So I think it's just a matter of time that we kind of transition from carrying technology to wearing technology. And I've been saying this, through all my podcasts. Last question, Georgie. What do you think what's the future roadmap for Gracia? And what do you think are the technological hurdles? How do you think AI, camera tech, or other peripherals gonna accelerate or elevate these 3D Gaussian splats, 4D Gaussian splats here?
Yes, sure. So just to address your previous question very, very briefly, I think it's also a good approach when you need to kind of give people a glimpse of what's possible with this tech, that you created 2D viewers, right? So you can try to fly inside of the video using your iPhone or using your mouse and your keyboard, right? So you provide a glimpse of what's possible now. And even if you possess VR headset, there is still some friction, right? Download, like wear it, reboot it, update it, download the app, wear a headset, go inside, go into VR. Yeah. So definitely in 2D, provide a glimpse of what's possible. Yeah, good. So 2D viewers can enable to showcase on the top of the funnel what's possible and convert better into XR experience. Okay, coming back to the next step for Gracia, right? So as I mentioned, we consider ourselves as a technological partner. So I would love to see our technology to be implemented into major applications like Amaze VR, Supernatural, Ala Moves, like Shapes XR, right? So these type of cases, I would love to see more companies invest into XR applications and be built straight away based on Gaussian splats. For example, like new fitness applications can happen, right? MMA fights can happen. Cooking master classes can happen, like built by completely new companies, but based on our technology. And we can share all the expertise about the capturing, like we can provide processing and distribution. So that would be the best for us. That's our target, right? As for the major challenges and how to solve them, I think there are a few of them. First challenge is compression. Now we have achieved 9 gigabytes per minute. So 1 minute of volumetric contents, full 360 viewpoint freedom. So we can walk all the way around. Weight's 9 gigabytes. It's 15 less than it was before. Still a lot. We see clear path how to make 3-4 gigabytes per minute by the end of this year. So we are at the moment of implementing it. Much better. Okay. Next year. So, and if you limit the viewpoint freedom, right? So for some of the use cases, you need to go to the back of the chef, for example. You need to watch him from the front. Yeah. And for medical use cases, right? So it's already, you can cut almost half of the splats, right? So you can cut
like
it
a
by half and you can
180 view. Yeah.
180 view, not view, but viewpoint freedom. So you come up with 1-2 gigabytes per minute. 1-2 gigabytes per minute is already something you can actually stream, right? Yeah, so you can remove this friction of downloading the content. So you can download it with the same speed you play back it on device. Yeah, so with 100 megabit per second is already started to match, right? So that's the point where we would love to get very, very soon with the compression.
That's amazing.
It will enable just much better user experience, more or less one button experience, right? Like a YouTube. And in this case, you just implement it as an SDK into your application, right? And you deliver the same user experience, just the content becomes much more photorealistic, etc. The second challenge, obviously, is content production cost, right? So for these kind of studios are quite expensive. Like portable rigs, you can't scale it that fast. You can't sell all those portable rigs very, very fast. So I can imagine like semi-professional creators and like universities for research buying them, but you can't imagine every family or any semi-professional, any blogger, any influencer buy and operate this portable rig. Yeah. So we have experimented a lot with capturing with just regular cameras and iPhone cameras, etc., where you don't need professional cameras to be installed, right? So very consumer level cameras that you can easily hire, like or in any major city, right? So like 10 iPhones. You can even, together with friends, you can combine 10 iPhones, simultaneously start shooting and later synchronize it via time code. And if you're shooting at higher FPS, difference between those frames is already not that significant. So we can, on a technological level, on our pipeline level, trying to kind of put the frames frames together, right? So we can work with unsynchronized footage, and it will enable completely user-generated content. So you can come with your friends to a party, you can put your iPhones, start shooting, and later process it, and you have a volumetric party, right? I can imagine this coming down the road. Gen AI will obviously help with this by hallucinating some of the viewpoints that are missing if you don't put cameras there.
Do you think at any point, for example, if one were to shoot with just a single iPhone, you could give them a movement freedom of about maybe 20 to 30 degrees by using a little bit of, like you mentioned, certain hallucinations and all that? Do you think that just the small movement of 20 to 30 degree is possible?
Experimented a lot. I think definitely possible. Not at the moment, right? You really need to implement a lot. The good news is that on previous technologies is more or less solved. So there are startups who do one camera or like two very, very close positioned cameras to capture the content and deliver like this kind of
parallax effect, so to say.
Parallax effect, and kind of it feels stereoscopic, right? So it's not to 20 degrees of viewpoint freedom at the moment. So you can only it's what we call couch VR experience, when you're sitting on a couch and just rotating your head a bit. But for some of the use cases, it makes sense, right? So, if you take image VR,
content generated by individual users, content creators, I think even this effect of just maybe getting them to have this parallax effect is something that they would sort of maybe use in some new creative ways. It could be a beginning. Then maybe expecting them to put together a lot of iPhones or, a lot of cameras or going to a studio. But I think this one camera agenda maybe could be useful.
I think for some of the use cases, it's possible to be done, right? So at the moment, you still need to capture the information. So the AI model has the information, what's how actually light behaves in the scene, right? But I can imagine it it's not probably like you put your iPhone, you start capturing, and now you have 20 degrees of viewpoint freedom. Yeah, you just don't know what's so. But I can imagine walking around with an iPhone first, and later starting capturing, so you have a bit of information. So how does the object looks like from all the angles? But now you capture from only one angle, and you can hallucinate a bit. How does it feel from all around other angles? It's more kind of realistic way to approach this. But again, it's a bit down the road.
Georgii, thank you so much for taking time and being part of the podcast. I think we are sitting in such a fantastic point of time. All of this, I think these tech stack that we're talking about, like I think what Sun said, maybe one camera, I'm sure it's going to be possible because, what's happening is that our entire tech process is being augmented by AI. There are already people who are kind of tinkering around with single phone and doing the volumetric capture. Howley is one of the guys who's, taking a single phone and trying to create volumetric capture. There's a startup I kind of interviewed long time back, and they were kind of tinkering around with the same, where you take a phone, kind of walk around an asset, and you create a volumetric asset. And so I think with these tech stack accelerating, especially AI and Fei Li's startup World Lab, I think they believe that creating or reaching artificial general intelligence, you need video data, which is missing. And that's what they're working on. And they have what I spoke in the beginning of the conversation. They've created a single image. Via a single image, you take an image and you get the entire 3D world. The AI model creates the entire 3D world. So I think, what we do, what's going to happen is this, all of these tech stack is going to accelerate. We don't really know what the timeline is going to be. Like earlier, we used to do photogrammetry. We used to could do it with a single camera or have like a rig. And the same thing we used to do virtual reality with like multiple cameras and volumetric with multiple cameras. I think the AI that's coming in is kind of augmenting and hallucinating and creating all those worlds for you. And I think that's going to happen in the next few years, with this merger of Gen AI with all of these tech stack, which is going to help us transition from carrying technology to wearing technology. We go into the world where the entire world canvas becomes a 3D. And I think everything is going to be interactive and experiential. And there's going to be brain kind of computer interfaces. There's going to be haptic feedback where we'll be able to touch feel the virtual worlds. And I mean, this might sound science fiction right now, but I'm sure in like another like possibly 10 years time, 20 years time, we, instead of possibly having conversations, we might be in the conversation and we would be able to possibly like touch, feel, who are we speaking to and interacting with. So I think we getting into a fantastic world. But for right now, the present, I think, and what you're doing is super fantastic. And I hope that, what you're doing, Gracia, reaches out to a larger number of people, larger number of audience. And I hope that it's not just creating an impact in Europe. I hope it reaches Asia also, because there are a lot of content creators over here in India, who are kind of figuring out, like, with this AI coming in, these text to image, text to video application, what would the next content creation or a social media would be, and how would you kind of create? So I hope that Gracia AI plays a role into that. Wish you the very best. So thank you for taking time and being part of the podcast. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, please press the subscribe button, and we'll really, really appreciate if you press the like button. Yeah. Thank you once again, Georgii. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Take care. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.